latest Evo product launch!
Wait, we had a choice.
This review has been made possible by Kristen Frades thanks to his great support on Ko-fi. If you'd like to be like him, please head over to my Ko-fi commission page to learn more details on how you can order your own requests for me to review an animated short of your choice. Today we're talking about Life of Pi. No, not that Life of Pi! I'm reviewing Life of Pi with an E in Pi, an animated short based on the popular Ratchet & Clank video game series. Ratchet & Clank is yet another IP that I have little acquaintance with. I never played any of the games, and the 2016 feature film was mostly put on as background noise, meaning I paid little attention to it to the point where I remember the usage of the Galantis song Runaway, parenthesis you and I, in the commercials more than I remember what happened in the movie itself. However, that doesn't mean I'm unable to say who my favorite character in the franchise would be, but I'm not getting ahead of myself. So the background behind this Life of Pi short could be summed up as out of nowhere. According to this IGN article, it was completed in 2019 as a separate treat for Ratchet & Clank fans, featuring a story unrelated to the series' then upcoming PS5 game, Rift Apart. However, it wouldn't be until February 2021, several months before Rift Apart's release, when dedicated fans found out about the short's quiet premiere on, of all places, HBO Max Canada, aka Crave. By the way, that's also the only place where you can legally stream it in the entire world. So if you're the 52.8% of people who aren't in my home country, you're not too out of luck. You can easily find uploads on YouTube to watch. What's even stranger was that the marketing for Life of Pi outside of the animation studio's Twitter account was practically non-existent. While it is absolutely not uncommon for animated productions to be publicly released years after completion, God knows Nickelodeon in particular is guilty of this with their Nicktoon episodes, why exactly was PlayStation seemingly reluctant to publish the short until the next Ratchet & Clank game was getting closer to its release? Whatever their reason is for waiting till 2 years later to unrelease it, Life of Pi has been out for 4 years now, and I'm going to review it for you today, Kristen. It's beneficial that this Ratchet & Clank short has virtually no important plot points carried over from the video games, allowing for the potential of enjoying this as someone with little knowledge on the franchise. When I first looked up Life of Pi after getting the commission, there were a couple of things that influenced me to become open-minded about watching it for the first time, aside from the inclusion of a certain antagonistic robot. For one, the short was written and developed by Canadian writer John Derefwani, who I best remember for his work on The Angry Beavers and especially Wayside, an underrated gem that's due for a serious rewatch. Secondly, the plot involves one of my all-time favorite foods, with debatable health benefits, pizza! To be more precise, as we get into the plot summary, the titular Lombax and robot duo are getting ready to redeem a bunch of coupons for free pizza, but there's a catch. It's for the Cosmic Crust brand of pizza, which Ratchet remarked has less flavor than the cardboard box it's delivered into. Okay, that's a funny one-liner that makes me speculate Ratchet is anti-Little Caesars. Watch this video if you didn't get the reference. But before they could consume any pizza, Ratchet & Clank must first complete a mission to safely store away a newly invented weapon called the Portalizer in the Galactic Weapons Museum so no evil hands could take advantage of it. As the name implies, the Portalizer can open up a multitude of dimensions, including one made entirely out of pizza, where Ratchet expects to eat a slice with 367 toppings. Jeez, and I thought the 99 cheese pizza from the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie sounded outrageous. Also joining the duo on their adventure is the bootleg Buzz Lightyear himself, the self-obsessed Captain Quark, who was just fired from his job as Cosmic Crust Pizza's spokesperson and replaced with a cow. Why was he fired? Probably for some case of incompetence on his part, given that he makes Ratchet & Clank's mission more complicated by using the Portalizer to enter the pizza dimension and piss off the anthropomorphic toppings and their pineapple waiter when he tries to eat the pepperoni. Now they have to fight off invaded pizza toppings on top of, no pun intended, protecting the Portalizer. Both Ratchet and Clank themselves are at fault for all of this, by the way. Once Ratchet learns about the potential of this nifty yet dangerous new gadget, he wants to use the Portalizer for his own selfish desires, just to avoid eating cheap, cardboard-flavored pizza. Meanwhile, Clank deliberately invited Quark to tag along for the ride, mainly because he knows the foolish celebrity superhero gets under Ratchet's skin. Although to be fair, I don't think Clank was anticipating for Quark to add an extra burden to the duo's mission by unintentionally unleashing killer pizza toppings who attack the city. In general, the neg and married couple vibes of Ratchet and Clank's relationship is one of the aspects that makes Life of Pi an enjoyable short to watch. On the surface, they may be another one of those dynamic duos consisting of a rebellious jerk and a responsible foil who keeps things in check, but the reality is, both of them are little smartasses to some extent. I also love how Clank wants to redeem the coupons not so much because of the pizza itself, but because as a robot, it simply gratifies him to complete such a trivial task as collecting a precise number of something. So he couldn't give a rat's ass if the pizza tastes like the box it came in. While I was writing the script for this review, I browsed through the TV tropes page for Life of Pi, and it notes that this hostility between Ratchet and Clank themselves, as well as Quark's stupidity, are rather unorthodox portrayals of the characters, at least at this point in the franchise's lifetime. Again, I'm reviewing this as someone who doesn't play the games, let alone watch any cutscenes aside from a few featuring a certain someone I'll definitely get to later, therefore I can't judge too much on how the characters are written here compared to the games or even the movie, though I have heard that this is a return to form for Ratchet, as he was apparently a jerk in his first game before the developers decided to soften him. Now, in addition to this bickering side of Ratchet and Clank's friendship, the eccentric story of the short does offer a solid amount of admirable qualities to it. If we were to look at this as an episode of a hypothetical Ratchet and Clank TV series, then let me tell you how this is a damn good looking TV series. Canadian CGI pioneer Mainframe Studios, the same people responsible for animating the 2016 film, did a more than serviceable job with everything visually presented here, with the character animation, special effects, production design, and colorful rendering all speaking for themselves. This is a great example of how far Mainframe has come since the days of Reboot, Beast Wars, Scary Godmother, Weird Owls, and the misunderstood masterpiece known as Stuart Little 3, Call of the Wild. The Ratchet and Clank video games and the animated productions like this and the movie may be different formats of entertainment from one another, but I think it's safe to say that Mainframe was polishing what was already well done in the games. Furthermore, Life of Pi has its fair share of funny moments. Much of the laughs come from the snarky one-liners sent by both title characters as implied earlier, but Quark also deserves credit for his role as a comic relief, a humorous, overly self-loving superhero with questionable levels of intelligence. Also, I thought it was absolutely clever on the writer's part to have the angry king of the pizza toppings be a slice of pineapple. You know, a reviled topping, which I agree with Ratchet, should not go on pizza. I bet I enjoyed anchovies on pizza better, because at least it's fish, therefore some kind of meat. I don't know, let me know if you tolerate pineapples as a pizza topping or not. But I for one welcome this anti-pineapple attitude Life of Pi is promoting. Moving on, what is great dialogue-based humor without some great voice acting? All of the main voice actors from the video game series returned for the short film, including James Arnold Taylor as Ratchet, the Canadian David Kaye as Clank, Jim Ward as Quark, and, oh no, not yet, because I best remember James Arnold Taylor as the voice of Nintendo's favorite cartoon character Johnny Test, I feel it was appropriate that these two characters with similar, childishly selfish, smart alecky personalities share the same actor. And watching Clank acting as the voice of reason to his Lombax friend isn't too different from the talking dog Dookie being the more sensible half of the Johnny Test duo. As for Jim Ward, who I best remember for his work on Fairly OddParents voicing Chet You Betcha, and Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome, this is notably the last time he voiced the airheaded Quark, before he retired from his career after he sadly developed Alzheimer's disease and got sick during the pandemic. Even though I'm not fully familiar with Quark as a character, I can't deny what Mr. Ward gave us in his final performance was worth laughing at, and hopefully he'll stick around with us longer as he enjoys retirement. Alright, I'm getting close to the 4-page limit I set for these review requests, and I haven't talked about what, or rather who, is my favorite part in this entire short. You may have noticed that I've been deliberately avoiding direct mention of this robotic badass, because I wanted to build up anticipation for the paragraph or two that he deserves, much like how his proper introductory scene in the short was well warranted. That's right, give it up for Dr. Nefarious! I love this guy. Even as someone with very minimal knowledge on the Ratchet & Clank franchise, Dr. Nefarious is easily my favorite character. Animated villains who are wild, hammy, boastful, temperamental, and get childlike glee out of being evil are perhaps my favorite kind, and Nefarious is no exception. However, I don't think I'd love him as much as I do if it wasn't for the fact that he was voiced phenomenally by General Scar himself, Armin Shimmerman. Yes, ever since I became a fan of Evo Con Carne in 2017, I began to really notice his talent as a voiceover artist. And that included seeking out his scenes as Dr. Nefarious, who one YouTube comment described as General Scar if he was channeling the same level of boisterous villainy as Invader Zim. That is a perfect summary of how Armin basically took his Scar voice and made it even hammier. Whenever I hear Nefarious speak or yell, it can get me jumping with excitement. Granted, that may also be due in part to my love for that crazy general turned gardener turned Underfist member, but still. Going back to Life of Pi specifically, Nefarious was an unsurprising riot to watch all throughout. Among the many funny moments he's responsible for, I love how both his ego and bad temper were so offended by his minions' underwhelming reaction to his entrance as he prepares to unveil the portalizer that he just shoots one of them. Equally as petty as Bugs Bunny shooting a man in the audience during his piano concert just for coughing. If you can tolerate dark humor like this, then you can agree that the nonchalant decision to do such an action is hilarious. But another thing that's amusing about Nefarious is a running gag that's carried over from the video games, where he would essentially have a stroke and some old radio melodrama called Lance and Janice would play before he swapped back to consciousness. The way I interpret this is that Dr. Nefarious may want you to be intimidated by him at all times, but deep down, he's a big old softie at heart. Perhaps not unlike Scar, who just wants to feel less lonely and enjoy simple things in life, like gardening and making cornbread with real corn. So those are my 2 paragraphs gushing about Dr. Nefarious and explaining why he was one of the 3 things that got me interested in checking out this Ratchet & Clank sort, alongside the silly pizza plot and the involvement of the Wayside Cartoon's head writer. Life of Pi was overall a very solid high-energy adventure that I'm glad I got the chance to try out. It remains a mystery why it is only available to stream on Crave over here in Canada, or why PlayStation was mostly pretending it didn't exist. But once again, if you want to see this deep insanity for yourself, in case you haven't before, you can find it very easily on YouTube. The link is in the description, then come back here with your own opinions on the sort. Do you think Ratchet & Clank deserves a full animated series in this style? I would especially love to hear what people who are way more experienced with the franchise than I am have to comment. As always, thank you Kristen for giving me another subject of minimal familiarity to open my mind on and enjoy. Well, that wraps up another interesting review. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and leave a pizza emoji in the comments to confirm that you watched this until the very end. Also, let me know if anchovies on pizza are really as disgusting as cartoons make it out to be. Can't be any worse than pineapples, right? Anyway, thanks for watching and take care.